So one of the most common issues that our clients run into when we run outbound campaigns for them is what happens post-reply. So in this video, I'm going to be covering the post-reply workflow for converting the most replies into booked meetings, ensuring that these meetings are qualified, and also ensuring that the most amount of people actually show to these meetings. So this is going to cover everything from the reply to how AI is handling the reply automatically, and then how we're qualifying the leads. We're doing even account research, and then what the follow-up system is going to look like beyond that. So I'm just going to dive into it. Concept. So many people overlook this, and a lot of people don't realize, it's like, because a lot of people we set up great campaigns, and emails go out, we generate a lot of leads, but the process beyond that is actually pretty tricky. Taking these positive replies, converting them to booked meetings. A lot of people overlook this, and so yeah, one thing we're looking to solve is this, as this is typically one of the most common issues that our clients run into if they don't have like a fully built out sales team and things like that. So diving into this, what this is going to start off with, first thing we need to do is tag the reply based on the intent. And there's actually going to be two steps to the intent tagging. First step is going to be binary. It's going to be, all right, does this person show positive intent or negative intent? So we're not thinking about like anything regarding, like meeting request, more information, interested. We're just determined, like the agent is just determining if they're positive or negative, right? The reason why we want to do this is because we don't want to give the agent too many tasks. We don't want to have like one agent that just does everything. We want to divide the tasks accordingly. And, a big part of this is just, so first we just want to identify, all right, is there positive intent? If there is, this next agent identifies sub intent, but of course, if they're negative, we're adding to do not contact list. And this is where we're going to be scoring the intent at a nuanced level for the sales team to have context on the exact intent of each reply. So there's gonna be a few categories. First one, obviously interested. If you want more information, so it's like beyond saying, hey, I'm interested. It's like, hey, can I get more information about what you guys do, or things like that. A meeting request, obviously, they ask for a meeting, pretty simple. Follow up later, if they're asking, it's like, hey, follow up in a few months. This might be more relevant then. Pricing, if they're interested in pricing, and then referral is like, all right, I'm not the best person to reach out to. You should reach out to XYZ, right? For each of these scenarios, we're going to give the reply agent a template. So we have templates for each of these. These are like common responses that is going to account for probably 90% of responses that we receive. But in certain cases where we receive a reply where the agent doesn't have context on what the prospect is asking for, we are going to have a instance where the sales rep is pinged, right? So we're not going to let the agent reply. And also this is fully automated, by the way. I should have clarified that. The reply agent for each of these templatized scenarios is fully automated. And the way the agent works is it's going to be using context from the client. So we have an onboarding form, we get the context, and from our own internal knowledge base on what we know about the client, the reply agent can access the MD files and get that information and craft responses accordingly. And the reply agent will respond to them instantaneously. We'll receive a reply, agent's going to generate a reply, then it's going to send it to them in email by SIM. In the case where the agent doesn't have perfect context on what the client is asked or what the prospect is asking for, then we are going to have an instance where the sales rep is pinged to review the reply and then QA it, make sure that's good, and then send it out, right? So that's in the case where, let's say they ask like, hey, you said you worked with XYZ company. Do you know XY, like who do you know at this company, right? We might not have context on that. So that's something that we need to share with the client before sending out. So we are not running into any issues with that. But everything else, we're going to have full context on how the client works for each of these. And depending on the campaign, we're going to send different sales assets and whatnot. So this is all going to be templatized and then adjusted accordingly for the client. What's also going to happen is the agent will be connected to their Calendly, and then Calendly the agent will be able to pull different times and dates that are available for the client and mention that in the email reply that we send to the prospect so we can book in a time for them. Beyond that, so agent has generated the reply. What's going to happen next is the lead will be qualified. The reason why we are having on the front end, like tagging first before qualification, is because number one, we don't want to qualify every single reply. But beyond that, doing the sub intent tagging, right, and generating the reply, because we want to give the client the option to reach out to leads that might be deemed like unqualified, right? So I'm going to go through this tiering system and how this works. So this agent, the way it works is using ICP scoring criteria and developed in the R&D phase. So like in the initial phases when we're building the strategy, we're getting the ICP information. We are going to craft a prompt that is going to score every positive reply that we get, and it's going to tier it accordingly on like a percentage basis. So every single client is going to have like different more or less criteria to score from and different weights for them. So like for some clients, they might have a scoring logic that goes up to like 50 points, right? Some other clients might only have 20, others might have like 200. You never know, right? So the number in which we are going to be scoring people off of is going to be different for each client, but what we can do, the logic that we can use, is a percentage basis. And this is just a general framework for the percentages. So let's say a lead reaches 90 to 100% on the scoring criteria. They're going to be a tier 1 lead, tier 2 is going to be 75 to 90%, and tier 3 is going to be 50 to 75%. And then anything below 50% is going to be like deemed unqualified. But what we're going to do, we're not going to just like hard, not count these leads or not send these leads to the client. We're going to, it's going to be questionable, right? So we're going to flag that, and then we're going to flag this to the client. They can manually QA, and they can determine if they're unqualified or not. And because in some cases, these agents are never perfect. So sometimes we might get a lead that is scored as unqualified, but when upon further review, the client may be like, all right, this is something that we could work with. So we'll go ahead and pass them through, right? And what that's going to look like, essentially, there's going to be a message sent in the Slack channel. There's going to be 2 buttons. It's going to be like qualified or unqualified. All the client has to do is just press the button, and it's going to continue the rest of this process. So beyond this point, we are going to have another agent. This is going to be the account research agent. So what's going to happen here is the account research agent is going to perform deep research on the prospect using all the available information that we've used, like we've uploaded into the campaign. It's going to pull like their LinkedIn profile, their website, of course, and then it's going to perform any sort of like general web research on the prospect. And that's just going to be added as notes for follow-up and like as a thorough report in the CRM for the prospect. Let's say they start getting further down the sales process, right? The bug call, you can have that full report. And you'll be able to see like, all right, this is their role, this is their experience, this is what the company does exactly, this is who they've worked with, things like that. So there's gonna be 2 outputs from this. The first one's gonna be like the entire research output, which is gonna be like a pretty decent sized output. And then there's gonna be like a summarized note version. So this is what's going to be imported to the CRM, but the summarized notes is what's going to be sent as a part of the Slack notification that has the reply and then all the contact information regarding the prospect. So when the sales rep is pinged, and let's say they want to call the lead, they can look at the notes and then use that, like have that notes context in mind when performing the warm call, right? So at this point, if the lead is qualified, they are, positive intent, of course, right? And yeah, everything's just been generated at this point. The agent will have replied to the lead, and we will have everything will be imported to the CRM. The lead will be imported to the CRM with the account research notes. We'll also know the tier of the lead, reply notification, and then all the account notes will be added as well. So everything you need to know regarding the prospect will be presented to the client, and the prospect will have be responded to with like 2 minutes. So because all of this is completely automated, it doesn't do anything. The client will only have to do something if there's a case where manual QA is required, right? So like if the agent isn't able to reply, or if they are a questionable lead, right? So that's how that's going to work. We'll also enrich for their phone number so the prospect or the client can warm call them, but of course, the reply will happen automatically. And then beyond this point is when follow-up begins. So of course, if the meeting is booked, we're gonna update do not contact list, update the CRM status, and then you start your sales process, right? But if the meeting is not booked, then we want to begin the follow-up. So we don't want to just let the lead go. We want to continue to follow up with them because sometimes, it might take 3, 5 follow-ups to book the meeting with the prospect after they responded with interest. So a few ways we're going to nurture leads via follow-up is going to be with the newsletter. So if you have a Beehive newsletter, we can automatically import all positive responses to Beehive. We can also send LinkedIn connections or in-mails, depending on what makes sense for the ICP that you're going after. Email thread, so that's just going to be followed up in the general email thread. And then phone calling them, so calling them, that's always a great point of follow-up. Hitting them on all, going multi-channel with it, hitting them on all potential touch points is going to be how we want to follow up. We're going to keep doing this until we get some sort of engagement. Depending on the engagement, there's really 2 scenarios. Either they're not interested or they booked a meeting. Of course, if not interested, to do not contact list and update the CRM. But if they have booked a meeting, we want to trigger our pre-call sequence. And this is where the show rate is going to have a big. So without a pre-call sequence, your show rate from cold outbound is going to be significantly lower. Like it's going to be around like 30 to 50%. With a proper pre-call sequence in place, we can get that up to like 70, 80% and make sure that most people are showing up. And the way we're going to do that is number one, we want to direct them to an educational VSL. So this doesn't get them more buy-in and also more understanding of what you're selling. So Another issue with cold outbound is that it's cold, right? So when prospects hop on a call, it might be pretty cold. So we want to send them some sort of educational VSL. Just like it could be a 2 to 10 minute video. The shorter the video, the more people are going to watch it. The longer, obviously, the warmer people will be on the call. So I typically recommend having like 2 videos. You can have like a really short one and a longer explainer after, just to get people to at least watch that first video. And then we also want to share case studies, so share case studies. That's always going to be a huge effect on keeping prospects warm on the call and getting trust from them. But then beyond that, just sending the general reminders. So we're going to send these assets during the reminder. So when they book a meeting, we want to confirm attendance immediately. So inside Calendly, you can send it an email immediately that has like a button that says like, confirm attendance, or like say, yes, I'm going to be joining the call. And then in terms of follow-up cadence, we want to send an email 24 hours before, 4 hours before, and then 20 minutes before the call. Ideally, we don't want to book a call out more than like 7 days. So, you could add a follow-up, like let's say 2 days before if it's booked out further, but we want to typically keep it within 7 days. Ideally, 3 days, right? But we want to send these reminders because you just need to remind the prospect. Of course, we're the ones that are booking them in. They didn't book them themselves. We're booking in for them. So they're more prone to forget. If the prospect no shows, we're just restarting the full sequence. Beginning the follow up again, be like, hey, do we need to reschedule for another time? Add them to the nurture sequence, and we just keep going. We keep going until they either book again or they say they're not interested. Or they did show up to call. Then we're going to be on our sales process, and then however you conduct your sales process, we are going to continue. If they ghost, again, continue the follow up. They close or they don't close, just simply update the CRM. And that's pretty much the full flow. This is what we are building out for our clients. And this is going to be absolutely huge for, getting those 30 to 50% positive reply to meeting conversion rates. So we're currently building the V1. I'm going to be sharing updates on how this is all going out, but this is going to be huge regarding qualification, meeting shown rate, and then just booking more meetings. This is an absolutely essential function that I think a lot of people overlook. And this alone could be a service in itself, but this is something that we are going to be giving to clients because it's honestly necessary for turning outbound into that revenue engine, right? Let me know your thoughts on this workflow. Hope you found this interesting. Cheers and thanks.